Hey y'all, thanks for coming out. So normally when I do this kind of thing, I show the work and I tell funny or interesting stories behind the projects. It's pretty standard. But when Ben started talking to me about coming and doing Creative Mornings, he really urged me to be more personal. I did not want to do that at all. And then I saw these great talks by Brian Phillips and JB, and they just blew me away, and I thought, damn it. I'm going to have to talk about something personal. So I looked at the big list and I chose wonder. Professionally, as a brand builder, really the core of my job is creating moments of wonder. A moment of surprise or delight or curiosity that can lead to somebody falling in love with a brand. And when we're doing our best work as a team, that's that feeling that we're creating for somebody, and sometimes for ourselves. Like this editorial illustration I did early in my career for Men's Health magazine on the subject of erectile dysfunction. For the back row, it reads, him, that guy, this guy, you. But see, if I can get you to laugh or share it with a buddy, or better yet, be a part of it, right? I gotcha. You know it's working. And I love it. I really do. I want to create that spark of wonder for you and your baby, your goat, and whatever this guy is. This thing we do can be delivered through something big like an environment, or something a lot smaller like an aluminum can, apparel, a pint glass in a restaurant, or, an ad about magical beer milk from a unicorn. It doesn't matter the medium, it's just how you kind of think about it and get it out there. Personally, wonder is something that resonates with me really deeply as well. And sometimes I think maybe more than the average person. So there's a reason. A few years ago, I got sick, pretty sick. And over the course of a few weeks, I started feeling really, really run down. And that kind of snowballed into developing these extreme allergic reactions to foods, muscles burning constantly, skin ached, my joints became stiff and arthritic. And this came on pretty fast over the course of a couple of weeks, to the point where before long, I literally could not walk across a room without having to lie down and rest. It was ridiculous. And things started to get really scary, and they continued to get worse. I developed what was this crippling brain fog. I literally couldn't think straight. I couldn't remember. If you told me a phone number, I couldn't remember it long enough to write it down. It was just amazing how slow I got. So I would sit like nearly silent in conversations because I literally couldn't formulate a thoughtful response in a timely manner. The narrative, the back and forth would move quicker than my mind could follow, and I was basically just kind of a slow-moving zombie. At work, I switched to primarily email communication with clients, and even that took me forever. And I did my best to kind of shield the team from it, but in reality, looking back, it was impossible. So to battle the food thing, I went on a full elimination diet, right? No sugar, no carbs, no caffeine, no alcohol, no dairy, no soy, no beef, no oils, no processed foods. And I think there's more, but I just got tired of making the list. And so we were seeing all these doctors. They were treating me with all of these antibiotics and other meds, but absolutely nothing was working. Like I was just in stasis. I lost almost 50 pounds, and I completely disappeared socially. Some of you guys that I know outside of things didn't see me for a while. And really not many folks knew what was going on. And the scariest part of the whole thing was that I could not figure out what was wrong. We could not figure out what was wrong. Doctors couldn't. So there was no plan or timetable. And at this point, it had been over a year of trying to figure out what was going on and just kind of hold on. So it got pretty terrifying for me, and I know it got really terrifying for my wife, probably worse. The most hurtful part was that I was a ghost to her and my son. Jade and I had a lot of trouble conceiving and went through a pretty brutal year of intense fertility stuff to have our son Hatley. And I was so excited to be a dad. So it was really bittersweet to be in the position that I was in. So as he was growing up from a toddler, I could tell that he was seeing me as this kind of distant, sick, grumpy guy who would come home from work every day and have to lie down. And my wife was in a position where it was like she had two kids to take care of, or a kid and a weird elderly person. It was rough on her. A year and a half in, I'm facing a really scary reality that this is it. Like, this is just what life is forever. I have to acknowledge, it's hilarious that I'm showing work right now. It is such a designer move. We can't help ourselves. It's like, yeah, so I almost died. Check out this cool shit I made. Right? We're shameless. Just as it kept getting worse and worse, I was finally diagnosed with Lyme disease by a doctor in New York. But the follow-up was that I had an advanced chronic case that they thought was not likely reversible. He couldn't help, and so I bounced around and finally found this consultant. I could do a whole talk on just him, but he had basically healed himself of something similar many, many years before. And so we were off, right? That started, I guess, 3+ years of work to hopefully get me better. Talking multiple times a day, he's in Pennsylvania, and reworking absolutely everything in my life. So piles of supplements, monitors, an even crazier diet, physical therapy, and a number of really odd, unconventional treatments. It's literally all I did. But the sum of it is that it was a really tough road, but it worked. Do you have any idea how good a beer tastes? When you have not had one in years and you did not think you would ever be able to have one again? Holy smokes, y'all. So good. Fantastic. But being able to lift your son, being able to order food in a restaurant, being able to connect with your wife again, And I don't want this to come across as like, look at how brave I was while I share the cool work. That's not it at all. I did not look brave or heroic at all going through that stuff. I looked scared and depressed and anything but strong. But there was nothing else I could do other than what I was doing. And I got so lucky in finding this doctor and being privileged enough to be able to afford him. But fighting out of that whole thing changed my perspective remarkably. I can't overstate it. And it really made me see things differently and appreciate a lot of stuff that probably before I took for granted. So for me, when I think about wonder, it's not about like big epic revelations. It's equally present, or maybe even more important, in little moments that I didn't really recognize before. But the trick is you've got to be looking for them, right? You've got to be open to them. And if you're tuned into the right frequency, those little moments of wonder are absolutely everywhere. And I know at this point it starts to sound like some ayahuasca and crystal shit, and that's not what I'm going for at all. It's really just about gratitude for being fortunate. So in the months since I talked to Ben, I started jotting down just random examples of little moments of wonder as I experienced them. So first up, this is the freight elevator in Chelsea Market in New York City. It's an 8-foot square steel box that goes up and down all day. That's all it does. And the same guy has run it for years. He's a baseball fan. And at some point, he decided, I'm not going to stare at metal panels all day. And so he got to work and he completely changed it. And he turned it into art, right? I'm so lucky I got a glimpse of this. I wasn't even supposed to see it and got in there. And it's a living document of stuff that he loves. It's like this organic installation that just keeps growing, and it's absolutely beautiful. So cool. And just through time and dedication and just really simple, consistent craft, he turned this drab, uninspiring environment into his own place of wonder, which just blew me away. Sean Huckins. I don't know if you guys know Sean Huckins. He's an Instagram follow for sure. He paints these perfect recreations of historic portraits, a lot of which hang in the White House, or did. But don't go off script. But he paints them as if they've been hit with the eraser tool in Photoshop, right? Oh man, so this is like a perfect sweet spot for me, this combination of amazing technical prowess and a really sharp point of view. Come on. Like the commentary. so good. When he got started originally, he would do these paint chip pieces. They're about 4 feet tall, and they have these people who appear to be kind of looking out into nature or the world or who knows what. And I just emailed him to tell him how much I loved the work, and we got to talking, and eventually he made one for me. So it started based on a story about my brother and I that we exchanged in emailing back and forth. And all of a sudden, Sean kind of ran with it and turned it into basically a story as if we'd been visited by aliens. So it's literally a painting of my brother and I drinking beer on top of a trailer being attacked by, aliens. I love it. It's one of those things that hangs in the studio. I don't know if anybody else loves it, but for me, I just stare at it constantly. So I really try to find wonder and curate it and surround myself with it whenever possible. I try to keep it front of mind. Good example, this is my living room when it's not being bombarded by crazed, filthy, adorable kid. But it's also proof that my wife is very loving and very tolerant, because over the fireplace is a 4-foot-tall, maniacal squirrel brushing his teeth. I mean, what the... So this is a Swiss advertising poster for Banaka from the 1940s, and I think it is probably the coolest poster ever designed. Like, this is everything I need. I mean, look at it. Thank you, Emily. But you could never sell toothpaste like this now, this weirdly and this beautifully. You know, no one in the marketing department is going to sign off on this. It's not going to happen. But it's amazing. I wish you guys could see it in person. I should have brought it. But you won't forget it, right? It worked. And that's what we're shooting for, you know, something remarkable. Like, that's what you want. So you can create moments of wonder for others, but you can also create them for yourself. As a 5th grader, I was desperate to have a pair of Air Jordans. Ben kind of called me old earlier, and this definitely shows it. Particularly the UNC OG blue ones. It's the holy grail, right? God, I wanted a pair so bad. No go, hard stop, did not happen. So, cut to the spring, and we're doing a video for Big Swig, and I saw an opportunity. Technically, I completely manufactured an opportunity.
Crack it, crush it, recycle, repeat.
Just happened to be my size. That's my foot. But I mean, how often do you get to reach back through time and high-five 8-year-old you? That's it, man. There's also a pig in it. Because pig drinking bubbly water, funny. So, a tiny, silly moment of wonder just recently. It's a weird one, but just stay with me on this. So, sodium citrate is a natural compound that when you add it to any cheese, it immediately turns it into creamy queso. Like, even the really tough, complicated cheeses you can't melt right, boom, like magic. It just turns it into queso. You should all get it. It's a chef's secret. They use it all the time. It's fantastic. So that's kind of cool in itself that it exists. But when you look at the compound and how it's spelled out for this amazing cheese melting stuff, right? Mind blown. Like, this stuff, for me, like, these little synchronicities are just like, So clearly wonder does not always have to be profound. I live under a rock, apparently, and just saw the Florida Man thing. Do you guys know the Florida Man thing? Shit. All right, well, we're going to go with it anyway. So those of you who don't know, Google the day and month of your birthday and add on Florida Man, and you get the most amazing news headlines. So for the back that says, Florida man rides manatee, dares police to arrest him, gets arrested. So that's what I got on my birthday. Florida man threatens to kill man with kindness, uses machete named Kindness. I think because I grew up in the South, this is particularly sweet for me. One more, man actually punted a rabid coyote in Kissimmee. And you guys should all try it later, or now, whatever. But that's that moment of surprise I was talking about earlier, right? It's great. I had to ask Alex and Emily if this was at all a relevant meme to put in here, so I wasn't up here kind of going, damn, Daniel. So you guys kind of get it. Like, it doesn't have to be precious. It can be anywhere. And for me, this is my son, Hatley, around the time I was sick. He looks like Truman Capote in this one, which I love. But he is my constant reminder of wonder. And watching the world through his eyes has been absolutely amazing. And if you have kids, you know this. It's a cliche because it's universally true that as they learn and grow, you get to re-experience all these different moments, but through a completely different lens that is first time and fresh and without preconceptions. So it's just full of, what if, and look at that, and why, and look what I did. It's my boy. But, if we're smart enough to listen and pay attention, they have it figured out. Kids can teach us everything about wonder and wild, unfiltered, lateral creativity. Like, there's nothing linear about it. It's fantastic. Whether it's music or travel, photography or food. If you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly, right? Or misdemeanor vandalism. Like, they kind of have it all figured out. But they have that innate wonder and freedom and just simple appreciation for life that we spend our time as adults trying to get back. So I wondered what would happen if I let Hatley art direct his Mother's Day card. So this is full-on afternoon, most of the day, me at the Mac, him hovering art director, like the whole deal. Like, he had carte blanche, creative direction. And when that happens, you get Hatley, you get Papa, you get Scatter. That's actually a dog. I don't know if you can tell in the back. It's kind of a dog. You get Chewbacca, because Mother's Day, Scatter gets a lightsaber. And then you get Yoda. But nailed it, right? No other mom got this card for Mother's Day. It's my screensaver on everything. Like, I think it's the best thing I've been part of in a while. So I know that's a really curious Yoda. So a few months after I started getting healthy from that whole ordeal, my wife walked into the living room on our anniversary and said 5 beautiful words that I will never forget. What the fuck is this? My romantic and supportive response was, that is not possible. Well, so my miracle kid, Brinkley, was born, later that year. And when I told my Lyme doctor that Jen was miraculously pregnant, he said, oh yeah, when I completely overhaul people's lifestyles and health, it happens all the time. I probably should have told you. Talk about wonder. Thanks, y'all.